Uganda registered the lowest voter turnout since the introduction of multi-party elections under the 1995 constitution during the January 15, 2026 presidential polls. 11.3 million voters out of 21.65 million who registered took part in the elections, according to the Electoral Commission data. This means that over 10 million eligible voters, equivalent to 52.5% of the total number of registered voters, did not show up to cast presidential ballots on the polling day. The voter turnout rate has steadily been declining over the years. Basing on recent elections, 67.6% of registered voters participated in the elections in 2016. The figure dropped in the 2021 general elections, with 59.4% of the voters taking part in the presidential poll. And now, the figure has dropped even further.
Some people have lost interest in the democratic processes of this country, that they don't see the reason why they vote because the results are the same.
More importantly for me is around the increasing voter apathy that we are experiencing in the country, that you have a bigger percentage of the citizens and the electorate at large who believe that their vote is not likely to, translate to the kind of leader they have.
Other analysts believe certain categories of Ugandan voters, especially Ugandans living in the diaspora, were not given the chance to vote, and that perhaps contributed to the low voter turnout.
Also, another category are those guys in prison. Those guys in prison are also, the fact that you are in prison, it does not stop you from being a voter or from being a citizen. So the minister did a lot of disfavor to these two groups to cut them off. If Biawashaija helps us to give us the good number of people who are 18 and above who registered to vote in prison, maybe it would be good advocacy for us to have the minister understand that these two groups, those in diaspora and those in prison, do really make matter, and they have a right to vote, to participate in elections. And that's why we would be able maybe to increase the voter turnout.
Then there's the issue of voter education, which pundits say was not sufficiently conducted.
It's not entirely the mandate of the Electoral Commission. There are other players that support this process, including the civil society and the religious groups, who in one way or another we saw did not extensively participate in this process. And specifically, I would speak for the civil society organizations. We've not seen a very active involvement of the civil society organizations in these elections. And their primary role has been, even in the previous elections, to really support the Electoral Commission with this component on voter education. This time round, we saw many of them not accredited to undertake the voter education.
Despite the fact that they accredited 51 civil society organizations to support them in the voter education, the accreditation letter came out late, like we were already into the third cycle of the election, meaning that we could not do much.
The Electoral Commission admitted on the polling day that the biometric voter verification kits failed to function across the country. Analysts say that technical glitches demoralized so many Ugandans from participating in the voting exercise.
The people who came very early in the morning to vote and did not go back home to inform others that we have actually voted. Those who stayed at home said maybe the things are not working, we should not go. And there are also people who could wake up in the morning, go and vote, and then after go and do other works. But when it reached around 10 a.m. when voting had not yet started, I think they decided to go to do their works. And that is the biggest challenge we are having with these statistics of elections.
I made the analysis immediately after the biometric voter machines failed. So I realized that people had started moving back, going back home, and that frustration alone led to, it was one of the factors that led to the low voter turnout.
So what should be done to prevent further decline of the number of voters in future elections?
We need to create and provide confidence to the people that their votes indeed matter, and that every action of them to go and vote will truly translate to the kind of leadership they want. And what that means is that being able to create and come up with electoral reforms that really reflect the gaps that we've had. The other really for me is around continuous voter education, to ensure that people understand the importance and the need for this, and even how to participate in this process. And the Electoral Commission must be able to prepare itself adequately before getting into elections. Because we've seen that months to the elections, a supplementary budget is passed. To who? To the Electoral Commission. To handle what? Some things that should have been handled long time ago. Gazettement of polling stations and many of these things. So there's need for clear preparations, because you have 5 years to prepare for these important actions. It cannot be that you are testing the biometric kits on the day of elections. It causes a bit of disenfranchisement by bigger numbers.
We are going to have a situation where democracy of election has no meaning in this country, not only at the presidential level, but even at all levels of electoral contest. We need to have a honest system. We need to have a constitutional review. We need to reduce the powers of the president. We need to have some distinct organization like Electoral Commission to have a representation of different multi-party. It should be a representation of multi-party democracy.
Meanwhile, the president-elect Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has demanded a probe into the low voter turnout that characterized the general elections. He claims most of the voters who stayed away were members of his party, the NRM.
10 million of them did not turn up. So we must find out why. Why the 10 million? Me, I have some reasons which I will discuss with SEC. So the opposition are lucky, because if all our members turn up, there will be no opposition in Uganda, I can assure you.
Daniel KIBET, NTV.